Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 33 male, was estranged from my father for over a decade. It had been a very long time coming when I did finally decide to become estranged at 20. I had already moved out when I was 17 and had made sure to limit my contact with my father before ending all ties between us. A lot of this had to do with the decisions he made while my mom was terminally ill and after her death. This ranged from trying to sleep with mom's sister while mom was still alive, to yelling at my mom while she was sick for being so sick, to burning several family photos of us in the days after mom died. He also sold my mom's easel, which she'd had most of her life, and was sentimentally valuable to not just me, but my aunts and uncles also. I was 13 at the time. My dad ended up damaging a lot of mom's stuff when he met his second wife and moved her in. To move her in, he moved my mom out. In the process, a lot of harm came to mom's things. My aunts and uncles took them and stored them, and we went through them when I was 20. I was completely no contact with my dad until his death almost a year ago. Even when I was informed he had transferred a lot of money over to me and had put my name on the deed of a family vacation home he and my mom had owned prior to her death. That was the biggest chunk of everything he owned. He never told his wife, now widow. He also didn't own the house they were living in and that we had all lived in prior. It was his friend's house. I was never sure how it worked, but he never paid for it while I was living there. 3 years for me. After he died, a letter was sent to me where he told me he had given me all of that, so it was mine outright, and because he wanted to make up for his mistakes in a small way. His leaving me with so much meant there was basically nothing for his wife and the other children they had. Only what he had in joint accounts and no property. It was all legally binding. His widow attempted to sue for a fair share of my father's assets, but her case did not go far because it had been handled prior to his passing and was 100% legally mine. I didn't go to the funeral or anything, so I was surprised to hear from her, and I still don't know where she got contact info for me, or my father for that matter. She told me I should be looking after my family, and I should want better for the children she and my father shared at least. She made it clear she expected me to want a relationship. I told her I did not, and I did not consider her children my family, because her late husband stopped being my family a long time ago. She said it wasn't fair that I could be so cold to my flesh and blood, and that they got screwed over by their father and then by me. She said I owed them something. I told her I didn't. I ended the call and blocked her, but she reached out to me through social media and called me selfish and cruel, and how I had no morals. Am I the a-hole? She is trying to use the blood relation with OP just to get a hold of the assets, because if she wanted to build a relationship, it could have been right after OP left the house. But she never paid OP any attention until it was about the property and the money. OP needs to block her. Funny her bringing up sticking with family obligations when she contributed to taking OP's away from him. Family is only important when she benefits. The hypocrisy is strong in that one. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. After he died, a letter was sent to me where he told me he had given me all of that, so it was mine outright, and because he wanted to make up for his mistakes in a small way. The letter tells you that you are not the a-hole. If you feel like it, you could start an interest-bearing account with an amount that could be used in the future for schooling, but you are obligated to do nothing. Even when I was informed he had transferred a lot of money over to me and had put my name on the deed of the family vacation home he and my mom had owned prior to her death, he left you something that had nothing to do with his current widow. So you were left a vacation property that belonged to your mom and dad that was rightfully yours anyway. I really don't see the problem with that. The person who had no morals was the lady who moved into a dying woman's home. You are not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She didn't seem to mind that you were family when her father and her screwed you over by treating your mother's memory in you like this. I call it karma. She saw your father abandoning you for his new family and never thought he could easily forget about her and the kids they share. Funny. My family is very religious, so when I moved in and out of state with my boyfriend, they were very upset. I wasn't fully honest with him about moving in with him until after I moved. I didn't want to make the last few weeks of living at home more stressful, as they were already unhappy I was moving, period. I have a lot of clothes, both which I bought myself and my mom bought for me, left at my parents' in my old room. I couldn't fit all of it in the moving truck, so I just packed the necessities and thought I'd pick the rest up during the holidays. I have nice work stuff, dresses, blazers, shoes, boots, luggage, you name it. A whole closet full. When I've asked for them back before, my mom always just says, well, some honesty needs to come to the table, and we need to talk about all of the lies because it's in my house. My brother says she barricaded my closet so no one can get in. I don't want to talk about my life decisions. It's my life. I don't want to feed my mom's desire to know every personal detail of my life. My dad is very passive and does whatever my mom wants, and I don't think he would be much help. I'm going for Thanksgiving in a few weeks, but I really need my stuff back. It makes me and my boyfriend very angry she is doing this. What should I do? A good thing to consider in your case is more of a long-term thought. Do you plan on staying in close contact with your parents once you don't have much reasons to come back to them? Try asking yourself what your mother is really seeking from this situation. What's her interest in acting the way she is acting? Once you get the bigger picture of why she is like that, you'll be able to give her what she wants, even if it's not sincere. If she wants to control your life, thoughts, come back home and give her the feeling that she is getting what she wants. I'm not saying this is the morally best way to resolve the situation, but fake being the daughter she wants to have for the time it takes you to pack your crap up. Once you have your crap and that you are out of the house, tell her what the duck is wrong with the relationship you have with her. Tell your dad how him being passive is not what you value in him. Tell them what's on your heart and go no, few contact if they can't even ducking acknowledge, understand that. But don't do any of that stuff yet until you have your stuff, your important papers, birth certificate, diplomas, etc., and whatever you need from your parents' house. The issue is not clothes, trust me. This is the background that I've been told. When my husband, let's call him Jacob, was a freshman in college, he met Sarah, one of his classmates. They fell deeply in love and dated for 4 years. She was apparently everything he ever wanted, and the perfect girlfriend. His family loved her. He was going to propose after graduation. Unfortunately, tragedy struck. She completely disappeared. There was very minimal evidence about what happened, but from the small bits that emerged and some video evidence, it seems that she was kidnapped by unknown men. There was a media outcry and large manhunt, but Sarah was never found. Fast forward. Jacob graduated from college and started a job. He grieved over his loss for 2 years and then began seriously dating again. That's when we met. This man swept me completely off my feet. Believe it when I say he's the perfect gentleman. Caring, kind, understanding, intelligent, handsome, ambitious. After the first date, I was his. I was head over heels in love, and he felt the same way about me. He did have to go to therapy early in our relationship because thoughts of his ex kept haunting him, but the therapist really helped and he was able to move on. A few years down the road, he sprang the question, and it was literally the happiest day of my life. I screamed yes like 10 times. Our wedding was amazing. Our marriage has been even more amazing. I'm not even religious, but our relationship has truly been blessed. We have a 2-year-old baby and a house. We've built a life together. And then we come to 1 year ago. He gets a phone call that there has been a police sting in the country next door, and they managed to find Sarah. What happened is that she had been kidnapped by slavers, moved out of the country, and forced into prostitution. She came back to our city after being freed and reconnected with Jacob shortly afterwards. I only met her a few times, but it's clear the poor girl was deeply traumatized by what happened to her. In the last year, Jacob has been spending more and more time with her, his excuse being that he needs to be there to help her heal. And that was fine with me. She needs support. She's understandably brutalized by what happened. But the time they spent started to get longer and longer, and I finally confronted him last weekend after he was gone a whole night without explanation. I asked him to tell me if he still had feelings for her. I asked him to be completely honest and look into my eyes. And then he broke my heart. He said that, yes, A few weeks ago, she had written him a letter to explain her feelings. The letter mentioned she had never lost her love for him, that in those years being kidnapped, he was the only one on her mind and all she thought about, and she wanted to get back with him and start their life again. The worst part? I asked him what he thought about all of this, and he said, "I don't know. You told me to be honest, so I won't lie and say I didn't consider it when Sarah brought this all up to me. I won't lie and say I don't still love her. I won't lie and say she didn't kiss me last Friday. I'm in love with two people now, and I don't know what to do." That was when I ducking lost it. I started crying and couldn't stop. He tried to comfort me, but I ran out with our baby into my car and went to my sister's house. That was a week ago. Since then, my depression has gone through the roof. He's called and texted a few times, but I haven't responded because my sister said to take some time before talking with him again. I feel like a zombie without a soul. He kissed his ex and is considering getting back together. And the worst part is that I feel like I can't even be allowed to be mad because then I'm the huge bee holding him back from his newly found ex. My close friends heard about this and they think it's like a romantic movie or something, with his long-lost love coming back. Nobody thinks about how I felt. Nobody thinks about what our baby is going to go through. I don't know what to do. The air has been sucked out of me completely, and I can't think straight. Can this marriage be saved? I'm not a therapist, and this is my personal opinion, but I feel like your husband needs to take a huge step back from his ex. Yes, you can be there for someone during a hard time, but like others have said, it's not his place to take care of her. What she needs is therapy. He moved on. He married you and had a baby with you. More than likely, he's experiencing a what-if scenario now that she's back. He needs to be taking care of you, not pining away over an ex-girlfriend. You need to lay it out for him that he's married. He has obligations and responsibilities to you and your family. She needs to understand he's not the same person he was back then. He's married now. He's not free game. And he needs to realize she's not the same person. You guys really need therapy, and he needs to quit talking to the ex. Like, go total no contact. It isn't fair to you or your marriage that he's falling for her. She needs to understand he's not single. He has a family, and she needs to back off. Your marriage can hopefully come back from this if therapy happens. Good luck to you. My brother Matty has lived with our older brother Chris and his husband Niles for 4 years. He moved in a year after they got married. I don't know what their agreement is per rent or timeline for Matty to move out. All I know is they treat him like their kid already. They handheld him through finishing college. He dropped out twice before living with them, supported him to get back in shape, and basically had to teach him how to take care of himself. The rest of us learned from our parents. Matty never paid attention or followed the rules growing up. He has always been a special case because he's the troublemaker. Chris has always been the perfect older brother to live up to, and I think he feels like Matty resented him for it. Their relationship only became really close, maybe codependent, when Chris came out as gay and our parents stopped talking to him for a couple years. They asked him for a reference letter a few months ago because they are ready to adopt. Matty agreed and acted really happy to be an uncle when I was around him. A couple nights ago at my sister Tamara's house, Matty was drinking and made some really off-color jokes about Chris adopting. I asked him what his deal was, and he started rambling about Chris and Niles forgetting about him. He seemed really upset that Niles wouldn't have time to train with him or attend as many of Matty's meets and competitions if he had a kid. I remember him saying, "I'm kaput once they have their shiny new Benetton kid to play happy daddies with." He said it wasn't fair he wasn't young or cute enough for them. I told him it was pretty weird he felt threatened because it meant child is the role he occupies space in Chris and Niles' life. He was crying and mumbling at this point. While I was comforting him, he begged me not to tell them about the letter. When I asked him what he meant, he repeated, "I didn't send a good letter," multiple times, until Niles came to take him home. In the context, I'm 1000% sure he meant the recommendation letter. He'd mentioned it weirdly, and then abruptly changed subject shortly before his meltdown. I told my sister what happened, and she thinks that they deserve to know so they don't ask him for help again in the future. She also thinks they should ask Matty to move out, so he doesn't go psycho if they do adopt. You're already involved. Do the right thing and tell your brother what was said. Burying your head in the sand doesn't absolve you from this situation. I met my husband, male 44, and his brother, male 42, Rick and John, not real names, during college in my early 20s. We were all in the same field and had this crazy idea that we could start a company together as we got along very well and were all like-minded. Their dad registered the company for us, in his words, to drive action, with all three of us equal partners. Anyway, it didn't go anywhere and we all eventually took jobs in the industry and John moved to the other side of the country, and that left just Rick and I here. Shortly after, we started dating, fell in love, and got married, and now have a happy family with 2 kids, male 12 and female 10. All this time, we had pretty much forgotten about the company. Anyway, fast forward 8 years or so, and my hubby lost his job, and instead of looking for a new job, he started taking independent contracts. He was surprisingly very good at this. People just loved him, and as the steady stream of projects coming his way increased, he decided to make it a full-time business. He liked the idea of being his own boss. At that time, we remembered the company that was just sitting idle and decided to use it for his business. After I had kids, I quit my job as well and started taking care of the accounts and invoices for this business. Worked well since I could work from home. During this time, John got married to Susan, female 36, and they moved back to our city a few years ago, and we have all been extremely close ever since. We spend holidays together, go on joint trips, and whenever either family needs help, the other family helps in whatever way we can. But neither of them have had nothing to do with the business. Recently, hubby decided he was going to retire. He has some back issues past couple years, and we announced it in a small get-together with a few close friends. John and Susan were obviously there as well, and everyone seemed to be genuinely happy. Yesterday, Susan invited me over for lunch, and during that time, she casually remarked how wonderful it is that we can retire so young. They were really happy for us, and she asked whether we will be winding down the company. That was the plan since our kids were still young and there is no one else to run the business, and I told her so. Then she made the strangest comment. "Isn't that wonderful? Are you guys going to blow your share with some round-the-world travel? We are thinking of using some of our money to travel to Europe during Christmas." I was very confused and assumed she was inviting us on a vacation to Europe in Christmas. But it's such short notice and there's no way we can make it. I asked her to tell me more about their trip and when they planned it, etc. And she replied, "Oh, of course, after we heard about the retirement, we assumed you will be closing the company." At this point, I was completely bewildered and made my way home still trying to sort out what she was saying. It was only when I talked to hubby that it kind of hit me in the gut. Most of our savings are in the company. Since it's a family business, it's fairly common. There is a lot of advantage to not taking out the money more than what we needed for our very modest lifestyle. And the reason we decided to retire is that the savings had grown substantially. We can pay off our mortgage, put money in college funds for the kids, and live comfortably for at least 20 years. We had completely forgotten that John owned a third of the company, and technically, he is entitled to a third of our savings. Even though this is technically true, how can they assume that the money would belong to them? Except for the first day we registered the company, he had absolutely nothing to do with the company in any way. My head is still spinning just thinking about it. I never chalked down either John or Susan as overly materialistic. They live modestly as well, even though they do indulge in some things more than us, like cars. I am really at a loss. This means we are going to lose a third of our savings, just like that, and we have to push out the retirement plan. Just seems unfair. Is it selfish of me to get upset about this? Is it ethical of them to feel like a third of our savings belongs to them when they did not take part in the company? I want to get an unbiased perspective as to whether it is fair for them to feel entitled to our savings. I find your story odd. If you had your business taxes done properly each year, you and your husband should have been reimbursed by the business for any of your personal money you invested in the business. Also, your brother-in-law would have been entitled to a share of business profits each year and would have had to pay his share of taxes on those profits. Assuming you did mess things up so badly, you need a good business attorney before you do anything. I am confused. Normally, the partners need to sign tax returns and other documents every year. Is he signing every year? If your brother is out of the picture and not associated with the business, Why would he continue to be treated as a partner? But obviously, the brother and his wife are in touch enough to know about the cash that is available through the business. Somehow they are in the loop, which means he is a partner, and will get a third if you liquidate, as a partner should.